what makes a good leader, what makes a leader who's effective, what makes a leader who the members want to follow and invest in responsibilities to govern the state and the legislature. The State Legislative Leaders Foundation has now been in operation for more than 4 decades. And over that period of time, we have had the good fortune to work with many of the most distinguished men and women that our nation's state legislatures can produce. From the start, the Foundation's goals were to serve as an impartial educational resource for our country's Speakers of the House, Senate Presidents, Majority Leaders, Minority Leaders, and pro tempores. We take our nonpartisan position very seriously. The goal for the Foundation is to inform the debate, and we accomplish this by convening educational programs in partnership with many of America's leading universities and colleges. At these programs, legislative leaders sit side by side with their colleagues from across the country, participating in vigorous classroom discussions led by some of the most preeminent faculty in the world. Our programs focus on qualities of leadership. They focus on management techniques. We talk about how legislative leaders tackle some of the critical public policy issues of the day: education, healthcare, the environment, transportation, land use. All of these are the stock and trade of our programs. We put together the best possible curriculum that we can, and we give these leaders a chance to discuss and debate, not only with the faculty, but perhaps most importantly with their peers.
Well, I came to this program, as I have been to many other SLLF programs in the 9 years that I've been active in the organization, because I find all of the programs to be extraordinarily informative, worthwhile. The discussion back and forth, both with the presenters and with other legislators from other states, I find really enlightening, and a chance to understand what best practices are in general.
Our programs are designed to inform the debate. Our idea is to put in front of these legislative leaders the facts about any particular issue. Well, we want these men and women to understand what's going on in America, and what are the strategies that seem to be working and those that don't seem to be working. We also look to the private sector to tap their expertise on given subjects. So we end up with a program that brings what we like to think the best thinking, the finest minds on a given subject together for those several days to engage in a conversation with these legislative leaders. We recognize the need to provide some kind of training or some kind of advice to newly elected legislative leaders. When you become the majority leader or minority leader, outside of your peers, outside of your colleagues in the legislature, there is really not much information that you can lay your hands on that talks to you about what you can expect. So we saw that as an opportunity for us to address this gap.
For me, the value of this, being from California, really is what the other legislative leaders from across the country bring to me. I'm getting to meet with people who have been in legislatures for 10, 20, 30 years. We're term limited. So what I get from them is the years of experience.
It's probably the most nonpartisan group I belong to, where you talk issues, you don't talk politics as much as you do looking for solutions. And that's what this is all about, is to interact, because you can change the name of the state, but the problem's hardly ever change.
We began the Emerging Leaders Program at the University of Virginia's distinguished Darden School of Business nearly 10 years ago. And over the course of those years, hundreds of legislators, most of them beginning their careers, have walked through the doors at the University of Virginia's campus.
What this program allows us to do is to understand how to work through the polarization that's out there and to actually think about what is the best way to accomplish and to govern.
So that manner of shifting a paradigm in conversation and likewise debate related to politics, I'm going to take that back home, because that's going to give me a more unique pedestal from which not only to articulate the needs of my constituents and residents, but really to find that common ground, that good common middle ground that really breeds cooperation and compromise with my colleagues.
Our goal here is to inspire these mostly young men and women to continue their careers in public service. How do your members look at you differently now that they consider you to be the leader? What happens when you have the gavel in your hand? So there emerged the programs that we now run for newly elected speakers of the House.
It's been a real pleasure to get to know other speakers from around the country and listen to their stories and bounce things off of each other and listen to the panelists. I mean, it's just invaluable.
I get inspired by the kind of leadership that I see coming up in our country. These are by and large young, bright men and women who have dedicated their careers now to public service, and they've taken on these huge responsibilities. And it always makes us feel good to think that we might be doing something that can help them along the way. The National Speakers Conference focuses exclusively on all of the country's speakers of the House and their chiefs of staff. It's a 4-day program. We bring all of the speakers together to talk about issues that are unique to the job of being the speaker. When we started to do these programs internationally, we started to recognize this kind of synergy that politicians, no matter where they are, share this very, very unique and common bond. That, again, gave us kind of the impetus, and it created the interest for people to participate in these programs. And we started to recognize also that we can learn from what's being done in different countries. I'm very proud of the work that my staff and all of us have done over these years working with these legislative leaders. I think that we have contributed to an atmosphere where leaders from all political stripes can recognize that they can work together effectively and that they can produce sound legislation and good public policy for our country. We will continue this work in the future, expanding our reach and our scope of activities, bringing legislative leaders together to talk increasingly about more and more of the complex issues that our country is grappling with.